There we go. All right. Well, hello, everybody. And it's, what is it? Today is Wednesday, March the 6th, and it is 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you very much, Joel. And I have my voice back. Cheryl was saying she didn't recognize hearing me. I actually have my voice, and I'm sitting in my new place. This is my first day in my new place. I finished house sitting for a friend yesterday afternoon, so last night was my first night here, and then today, so I'm kind of just sitting in a very naked bedroom right now, which is the only place I can close the door and there isn't any noise. Anyway, it's good to see you guys again, and so the purpose of tonight is really to give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions. This is really your time. Any questions you have, any thoughts, comments you have coming out of Own Your Greatness. So it can be related to sacred gifts, it can be related to Own Your Greatness, and if nobody has anything on those topics, we can talk about whatever you want. It's snowing here in British Columbia. We can talk about that. Okay, so why don't we start off with, and Anne-Marie's listening in, she's not speaking. Sandra doesn't seem to have a mic, and Cheryl number 2 is driving. So right now we have Cheryl Gregory, and we have Lenica and myself. So it's a very intimate conversation between the three of us. And like I said, Anne-Marie, the rest of you are voyeurs. You get to just kind of listen and look. Okay, so why don't we start with Cheryl Gregory. So Cheryl, why don't you tell us how you've been coming out of Own Your Greatness?
I absolutely loved the course. I thought it was awesome. It really helped to, I guess, confirm some of the things I knew about sacred gifts or suspected I had about sacred gifts. I have to put my glasses on now to read my stuff. But it felt good that those were the things I felt good about, that I felt were sacred gifts. Interestingly, in 2 areas, I thought writing was one of my sacred gifts, but apparently not, according to my score. But I think it's because I wanted to be a writer as opposed to a natural gift for writing, if that makes, I don't know if I'm wording that right, but yeah, so what it did for me was it really helped me understand why I struggled sometimes writing blogs, because it didn't come sort of naturally. But where it comes naturally for writing for me is in comedy, because I did some Second City stuff and I did some stand-up comedy, writing for stand-up, comedy. So in that area, I have some gifts and strengths, but not in other written word topics like blogs.
Okay, well, that's a good point. That applies to all the gifts. So gifts are not, so if you have a gift of writing, somebody who has a gift of writing might only write poetry and absolutely nothing else. Somebody else with a gift of writing might only write copy and absolutely nothing else. And some might only write movie scripts and nothing else. And some might write romance novels and nothing else. And somebody else with a gift of writing might write proposals for grants from the government and nothing else. So never exclude a gift because you think it has to be, turned on in every single area, right? So, and also never exclude a gift just based on the scores. Okay. So if we were to take the scores aside, and if I was to say to you, Cheryl, starting tomorrow, you don't ever have to write again. Like, if I was to tell you, you don't have that gift, you don't ever have to write again, would you let it go that easily?
Not in all areas, no.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so does that make more sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really helped me understand why, where my strengths were. So it was good. It was really good. And even in healing, like I scored fairly low in that, but I know I am a healer, but I think it was the way I was interpreting the questions. I went back and I read them a second time after the event, and I read them in an entirely different way.
Right.
Entirely different way. So I rescored it and I scored high. So I think it's just the moment when you're reading something and you read it in a certain way, and it resonated differently for me that particular day than it did when I redid it. because I love assessments. I love to retake them because any given day you could be in a different place or a different space.
Yeah,
Right?
typically you won't see huge results, in scores unless somebody's mindset is really like you're really super tired or you're really depressed or a big change in mindset. You might see some variances in the number. You might give one or two a little higher, a little lower or something, but it would be unusual to, for example, have a 0 and then you do it again and you've got a 12 or something, right, in something. But you might see a little bit of change, and also the interpretation of it is huge. If you do the assessment at the end of the course, like if we went through all the gifts, all the 24 gifts first, and I've done it all the different ways. I've tried it many different ways at the workshop. So I've done the assessment first, not given the score results. Not given the, not get them to add up their score, not give them the names of the gifts, go through the gifts individually. I've done it where we go through all the gifts and they do the assessment after. So we've tried it all kinds of different ways, but the variance is typically, it's usually pretty small. But it's not like you had a gift last week and you don't have it this week, or you didn't have it and you did have it. It's the interpretation of it, right?
Right.
All right, so Lenica, how about you? What's how have you been coming out of the course, and what have you been able to apply?
Well, the course kind of, for some of my gifts, it validated what I think I was feeling or how I thought I was. So it felt good. So it actually, and then I listened to all the recordings, all 24 gifts. And so, it solidified what we learned in class about some of them for me. And then I also did the exercise where we have putting it all together. So I looked at cross-section of what we did in class with the assessment, and then the ones that I just felt could be my gift, and the cross-section came up with some that I wasn't expecting, but then majority was. So what I'm finding is three of my gifts are planning, wise counsel, and challenge.
Okay.
Wise counsel, I always downplayed it, and so it's kind of like I'm not doing that anymore, if that makes sense. But I'm cautious of how I bring forward to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I even find the way I talk to potential clients a bit different now. I'm a little bit more shoulders back and like, no, I know this, even though, it's I can't say weird, but I will say that I think my negotiations I just got 2 new clients this month. It may have helped. Like I didn't really, waver, because I'm like, no, I know this stuff, even if it's not a skill. And so I told my family I described what the gift of challenge was, and they totally like went spot on and go, yeah, that's you. A couple of my close friends too. So it was funny, but like, I know I have to deliver that and be careful how I deliver that and who I deliver it to. So that was cool. And then planning was always natural. So my mom was kind of like, that was spot on. And then the ones that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but it came up, was cultural integration and extraordinary trust as gifts that appear in both the score and how I felt. Extraordinary trust, I feel kind of like in your recording, I feel probably as I am getting older, I have that kind of faith that, yeah, it's kind of going to be okay. So maybe it makes sense when I heard the recording, because when we were in class, I wasn't too sure about it. Like, what did that mean? Did it mean that I trust people or people trust me? So, but when I listened to your recording, it kind of helped understand that. So I could see that. I wasn't thinking about it as a gift, but I guess I could. And then cultural integration, some pieces of it, I don't necessarily think like I feel more like better outside of my own home and environment, and I could easily assimilate with cultures, but I do, I know I have a natural tack for languages. Like I know 3 right now, and I've learned it, and I have a natural ability to learn them. So that's how I interpret that gift. The other culture part, I do have a natural kind of inquiry about cultures. Do I necessarily always have to integrate myself into cultures? Not necessarily, but I have a great appreciation for different cultures. So I don't know if that would equate to the gift, but the language part, definitely. Like, I've always said it, but again, that was probably, I just always shied away from it and kind of just went, I'm able to learn it, but I know I'm able to learn and speak a different language fairly easily, maybe easier than others. So it was cool to kind of get some validations.
The gift of knowledge, was that one that came up for you?
It did, yes.
Yeah, because a couple of those things that you just described, so while somebody with a gift of cultural integration might be quick at picking up other languages or finding ways to communicate in languages where they don't speak the language, the ability to learn quickly anything and assimilate it quickly, and the enjoyment of wanting to learn about other cultures might actually fall under the category of the gift of knowledge.
I do like to learn. I always tell people that I love learning and love learning new things. So that made sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And the other thing, when you mentioned extraordinary trust, that's hey, Joel, nice to see you. Welcome. Yeah, it's good to have you here. The other thing with the gift of extraordinary trust is it isn't so much focused on trusting people, whether they trust you or you trust them. It's more around the ability to, without thought, really, to be able to take extraordinary leaps of faith. It's taking extraordinary leaps, taking extraordinary, jumping into something without necessarily knowing, I would say typically without knowing how it's going to happen, what's going to happen, but just knowing. It's a knowing, not a thinking or a wishing or a hoping. It is a knowing that things are going to work out. And that's what allows, especially visionaries, for example, visionaries who have a gift of extraordinary trust are the ones who can take these massive leaps of faith and create something seemingly out of nothing. So it isn't so much putting trust in people or anything in particular. It's something within them that doesn't even take those things into consideration. It's
okay.
I got to do this thing. This is what needs to happen. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm not worried about it. And usually the validation people will get from others is where they will hear other people say, "Are you out of your mind? How are you going to know? How are you going to do that? That doesn't make sense. You must be crazy. There's no way you can do that. Well, what about this? What about that?" It's the other people's questions and feedback that often help people realize that they don't even think about those things. And it's not an irresponsibility. It's not they don't think about those things because they're being irresponsible or they're uneducated. It's that it doesn't occur to them to factor in everything that could go wrong, because all they see is this thing needs to happen, and and this thing's going to happen.
Okay, I get that. That's how I felt when I quit my job. Kind of didn't have a reason necessarily. I just did not want to be there anymore and left and started my business. And I did have moments and people in comments kind of going, "You're leaving a job of 13 years to go ahead on your own." And I kind of just went, yeah. And so I get that.
Yeah. And looking for patterns. Remember, we're always looking for repeated patterns, looking back over our lives for repeated patterns. So I left nursing. I left being a registered nurse, on a Friday afternoon. I called them and told them I wouldn't be back on Monday. I left it because there was a inner guidance to go do something else. I do not see myself as somebody who has a gift of extraordinary trust. That was kind of a one-off. I left my marriage. I would not say that was extraordinary trust. That took a lot of thought and a lot of prayer and a lot of time and a lot of discernment over a long period of time. And weighing things out and weighing out the pros and cons and that kind of thing to come to that decision. So even though I have made some decisions that people might question, like my mother, who's like, why would you leave being a nurse and what is a coach, and why are you leaving a marriage after being married 25 years? So even though people questioned it, I absolutely know I do not have a gift of extraordinary trust. So even though there's a couple of incidences that I can point to, it's not, for me, it's not a gift. It's just, I just know that because I've been around people who have that, and I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like everything else, it takes some, it takes discernment, right?
Yeah. That one, I think that one and the cultural integration were the two that I kind of was like, it came up in both lists, and I was like, okay, I'll put it down, but I wasn't completely sure if how they related. But yeah, the explanation helps.
Good. Well, I love the fact that you've got 2 new clients this month, and also that you feel that you can pull those shoulders back and own your greatness. I mean, that's kind of what it's about, right? And the confidence that you gain from understanding that you have these gifts, and that with these gifts come these supernatural powers that allow us to do certain things. That's the whole idea of it, is I love exactly how you say it is, I pull my shoulders back a little bit straighter and am, and able to say, yeah, you know what, I can do that. I know I can do that. And that it goes beyond skill set. So I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, there was a shift. I don't know what it is, but there is something. It's kind of felt like doors are opened a little bit, like at least in here. So
Great.
It's cool.
Excellent. Okay, well, Joel, let's go to you. So, Joel, why don't you tell us if anything has changed for you since Own Your Greatness, and then do you have any specific questions or comments regarding sacred gifts?
Sure. Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely a big shift. I'm just pulling up my my notes here because I did the test again, and found that my biggest sacred gift, which is wise counsel, was even higher rated this time. And I think that's as a result of that I've identified it and I focused on it, so it's becoming more and more part of my life. A funny thing, though, is that I had extraordinary trust as a much higher up on my list when we did the Own Your Greatness, and it actually dropped significantly. It's still in one of my 9, but it didn't make the 6 cut. And you talking about it today, I think I do have that because I've started so many businesses. I just started another one last week, and I just have faith that everything's going to always work out. I have confidence in what I'm doing. So I think maybe it wasn't as far high up on the list because I kind of read it as more of a, do I trust other people too as well? Am I always, but really I do give a lot of trust to the universe and that things will always work out and I'll get exactly what I want, not know what I want, exactly what I need, whether I want it or not. What I did also notice is that so what I wanted to do when it says 1 or 2 gifts that you would like to experience more deeply, fulfilling way, obviously wise counsel, but I wanted to get more experience into extraordinary trust, because I feel if I'm able to develop that gift even more, I'll have a much more calm life. I won't be as stressed out about small little things. I'll just be able to give more trust to the universe and not have that type of anxiety or stress, just knowing that as long as I keep moving in the right direction, everything's going to work itself out. But I also noticed that a few other things just bubbled up. I mean, planning, knowledge, and teaching all at the same number. I did have vision and planning still there, but what popped up was more encouragement and facilitation. So the second time I did that, might I assume because I was in a more relaxed atmosphere, I've been able to identify them differently, or why is there such a change?
Right, and we were talking about that just before you came on the call because Cheryl was sharing a similar experience. So what I can tell you for sure is the gifts have not changed. The scores have changed. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the underlying gifts that you have not changed. Okay. That's why then it will take some discernment. So it is not the gifts that change, whatever gifts you have, you were born with, and they were in you when you took the test the first time, and they were in you when you took the test the second time. So the gifts don't change. Now your scores have changed, and this is where the mind gets involved, now starts questioning, okay? Questioning the scores and focusing on the scores. So, you know, the goal is to not keep taking the test to keep getting different numbers, but to discern which ones that you feel you know for sure you have, and not be relying on the scores. Remember, the scores are just there as part of many different ways to give us some clues and to help us eliminate as many as possible. That's the function of the assessment, is to eliminate as many. Then you're going to have a couple you're pretty sure about, and then you're going to have a handful you're not so sure about. And that handful that you're not so sure about, repeating the test 20 different times is not going to change whether you have the gift or not. It's just going to keep creating more doubt, right? So, you know, you could keep taking that test over and over again, and you know, that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is like what you said about extraordinary trust, that if that's a gift that you have and you're wanting to, for that to develop more fully and have the opportunity to really lean into that gift, know that it's not the same as your personality. Remember when we talked about your humanness and then your beingness, and the gifts reside in your beingness, and then there's your humanness? You can have a personality that has a lot of anxiety and stress and worry, and still have a gift of extraordinary trust, and still be somebody who worries and frets. So I have a girlfriend who's a great example of that. She has exhibited examples. She has examples of where she has leaned into extraordinary trust to take huge leaps of faith many times. One of them was to leave the Jehovah's Witness after 36 years. And that was an indoctrinated lifestyle where she, you know, was raised by missionaries in Ecuador, and there wasn't anything that made sense about it, except for her. There was a knowing that she needed to leave that in order for her to reach her own potential and her own greatness, and to be able to feel on purpose doing certain things. And it required a tremendous amount of extraordinary trust. And then she made many other changes in her life where we could see examples of this gift of extraordinary trust. But her personality is rooted in the need for security. So she took off at one point. She took off. She was the kind of person that kind of took off, you know, goes to Bolivia with a backpack on her back and is going to figure it out. But has no idea what she's going to do, has no idea who she's going to meet, where it's going to lead to, but she makes absolutely sure that the night she arrives, she's got a hotel booked, she's got, you know, she's not going to show up in Bolivia and go, oh, I'll figure out where I'm going to sleep tonight. She's very, she's rooted in the need for security. She also did a lot of research before going to find out what kinds of jobs she could do to earn some income, because she knows she needs to have some money, right? So you can have a gift of extraordinary trust, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to change things in your personality if, in fact, you have anxiety, stress, and those kind of things as part of your humanness. That would be personal development work. It's not that developing the gift is going to get rid of that. It's going to be working with a counselor or whatever it is in order to identify what's the root of these anxieties and stresses that I have, and what is it that I, you know, what is it that I can do to deal with that.
Yeah, I've already gone down and am in the process on that path. It's quite interesting what he's uncovered. So, but I still like to have more faith in the universe, just from my upbringing. You know, my father, you know, he was just very, I wouldn't say strict, but very glass half empty always. My mother, glass half full. So oil and vinegar, of course, they didn't mix, and thank goodness they're not together anymore. I love them both separately, but I don't know how they got together. It was probably just for me. And but he's it's really interesting going down that path and understanding. And your question before that you about a shift, I had such a big shift at the event, and noticed, and I've noticed things have changed since. finding that I'm observing things that are around me more. I'm observing my own behavior. It's almost like I've had an eye open up here. That's more of an observer. I guess Eckhart Tolle puts it as you're now the watcher of the, of your beingness. Yeah. So, or your beingness is watching your personality and all that. So it's been really transformational to me. My wife, we can talk another time about that, but she really noticed a lot of stuff. And as we're going over, she's nodding her head. Yep, that's you. Yep, that's you. And she said, one thing she mentioned, she said she's surprised that I didn't write down the gift of music because I like to compose house music and do mixes, and I did that for many years, and it just never came up. But it's something I enjoy, but I think it's just not part of my core. I love to do that and create that, but I also love to create businesses. I love to help business owners and come up with creative solutions for that. So that may just be part of that. So
or
yeah.
a natural talent. So remember, natural talents are part of our humanness. So I'm naturally talented in music. I have a lot of natural talent in music, and I can play instruments, and I've sung in harmonies and choirs for 40 years. Like, I have natural talent. I do not have a gift of music. Like, I'm absolutely clear. So I'm so clear. I hope there isn't a single cell in me that would cause me to want to leave what I'm doing now and just go explore the world of music and throw myself in there and whatever. There isn't anything in me, but I do have natural talent in music, which is part of our humanness, right? So you can be quite talented in something and be very good at it, but it doesn't mean that it has that compelling nature of a sacred gift and that it's in you to be of benefit to others through it. Right?
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not saying you do or you don't, but I'm saying that just remember you can have natural talents that can confuse us.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that. So that'll, when I speak to Alana, I'll mention that to her as well. So yeah, fantastic. It's been a great experience going through the program. We did it over the last couple of weeks, and the meditation was really good. We meditate almost every morning as is. We did the shorter version just from a time constraint. We planned this Sunday to do the longer one, the 30-minute one. And yeah, I really, after that, the first meditation, it's something going on there that I really enjoyed, and I felt a little different when I came out of versus doing a regular meditation. So I'm excited to explore that deeper and on a more frequent basis.
Yeah, Maya Telford, who created that. I mean, she's really gifted, and she was compelled to create that meditation. She came to me and said, I have to do this. And she was clear, and I was clear, that it was an activation meditation. It's an activation. And that there is, through her gifts, an ability to activate the gifts that we have by listening to it. And that, and also Marianne Williamson's, prayer of please use me. When we open up to that, please use me, is pretty powerful. I mean, I tell people I wouldn't be saying that unless you're really meaning it, because you open yourself up to finding yourself in situations where something is going to be called from you. And I love that scripture. So I don't know scripture, even though I was raised Catholic. We didn't read the Bible. We only heard scripture through readings at the church. But my girlfriend, who's Jehovah's Witness, was raised in it. And I learned so much great stuff from her. I used to say to her, I wish I could mind meld and get all of that out, because she knew scripture inside and out. And she would, every once in a while, even though she had left the Jehovah's Witness, she would say, Monique, it says in scripture, like one of them that she said to me, and I never forgot, it changed my life. She says, Monique, it says in scripture, go boldly to the throne. No place does it say crawl around on your belly and beg and plead. It says go boldly to the throne. That changed everything for me. That was really, that was a really powerful one for me that made a difference. And there's, please use me is kind of like that. It's like, man, you don't want to mess around with that stuff. And there's another one she told me, to whom much is given, much will be asked. That was really eye-opening for me because I felt like much had been given to me. I felt very blessed with the assignment, I'll call it the divine assignment, to bring the whole sacred gifts thing out to the world. And I also sacrificed a lot to do. I have sacrificed a lot to do it. And when she said that to me, she said, to whom much is given, much will be asked. And I thought, that made sense to me. Just certain things like that make sense to me. And there's power behind words. So please use me, and that meditation, it can activate stuff. But man, if you're going to do that meditation, you want to do it with a real open heart and a willingness, because it will activate things.
Oh, that's really cool. The please use me prayer, is that in the downloads? Because I didn't see it.
No, it's I just mentioned it in the course, and then Maya actually says it in the meditation as well. It might be in the long version of it, but she says it. But it actually comes from a quote that's in A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, where she talks about the gifts that we have, and she talks about playing small and shining our light. We're pretty familiar with some of her quotes, and in there, in the full quote or the writings that she wrote about that, about using our gifts and being willing to use our gifts for the benefit of others. And she says the miracle worker, when we are in our gifts, we become miracle workers. And she says the miracle worker's prayer is, please use me. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because before I get on stage, I say my own little prayer. I say to the universe, please put through me good knowledge, and that I'm able to provide my audience with value and enjoyment and entertainment. And whenever I do that, generally I've got a brief moment where I'm like, oh my God, I'm going on stage. Then all of a sudden it clicks in. And once I'm up there, and sometimes people will come up to me after, they'll say, wow, I can't believe you said blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, really? Did I say that? It's almost like it just goes out on autopilot, and people are just going, wow, wow, wow. And then they're like, well, can you repeat what you said? And I'm like, well, no. But, come back another time and I'll say other cool things. So, yeah.
When I started teaching the Sacred Gifts program, I didn't really have an understanding of that. And it's part of that teaching thing. And I didn't understand that, or sharing knowledge. And people would say to me, oh, that was so good what you just said. Would you repeat that? And I used to get, because I didn't understand it, I used to get really uncomfortable. And then in my mind, I think, God, they must be thinking I'm making up shit, because I cannot remember what I just said. And I couldn't really explain it. And then it dawned on me, well, it's because it's just coming through in the moment. And so, I'm not even present to what it is that I'm saying. So what I did for a long time is, whenever somebody would say, could you repeat that? I'd say no, but who in the front row would like to volunteer? And whenever somebody says, please repeat that, you'll be the person I'll look to, and you're going to repeat that. And there'd always be somebody who would put up their hand, and sure enough, they'd be one of those people with the amazing memory, and they'd be able to repeat what I said. But once I understood that it's just, in the moment it's coming out. And, to your point about praying before getting on stage, I don't know if I shared this with you guys in Toronto, but I've gone on stage with Sacred Gifts or with Own Your Greatness where I haven't I can sense I'm on stage, and I haven't, even though I have prayed before coming on or set an intention or whatever it is, I can feel it's not there. I haven't really done it. And I will put people into a partner share. I'll say, okay, so find a partner, and you guys are going to spend 3 minutes each, and you're going to do blah, blah, blah. And I leave the room and I go in the bathroom, and I have gone into bathrooms and literally gotten down on my knees next to the toilet bowl to get myself in the place of really connecting, because I can tell it's not there, even though I thought about it. Oh, okay, I'm going on stage and I really want to be, I really want to provide value, and I'm going through those thoughts, but it's like they're thoughts. It's not really the connection. And I've had to leave the stage, go and get that connection. Then I come back on stage, and I can tell when I'm in it, and I can tell when I'm not in it. And your experience of that in Toronto would be, when I'm not in it, I will turn it back to you guys. I'll get you guys talking. I'll get you guys in a partner share. whatever it is, and I will use that time in order to get myself back in that place, because I know when I'm in it and I know when I'm not in it, and when I'm not in it, it just doesn't work. It's like anxiety, like I'll feel nervous. There'll be just all kinds of things that happen that are just not part of my experience when I really prepare for it.
Wow.
And that can be utilized anywhere in people's jobs prior to meeting with a client. I teach my certified guides to do that before they get on any call with their clients. It's something you can utilize for anything. It's not just about getting on stage. But speaking of getting on stage, Joel, did you connected with Ricky?
Yeah, I connected with Ricky. We took it off Facebook, and we're going to be setting up a call for either later this week or early next week. I don't think the event is might be a little too soon for me to turn around and make some changes, because I've got a couple of speaking engagements. I'm speaking at the end of the month for Direct Marketing Association of Canada. That's going to be really cool at a breakfast. Anyone in Toronto that wants to come see me speak, I'll be at the Spoke Club. It's going to be really cool. It's a morning breakfast. So I'd like to connect with him. I've gone through the different digital conferences. It seems, wow, it could be a huge opportunity. So I really am grateful, and I thank you for putting me in touch with him. If I can't do anything with him now, I'm sure in the future we'll be able to collaborate, and I'll be able to bring more value to his events. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. He's a good guy. Okay, I want to take a quick look and see who else is on the call here, because there's some people that aren't showing up. Okay, so Amanda has messaged me saying that she is not well, so she's listening and is just enjoying listening. She's not going to speak. Anne-Marie, we can see Anne-Marie, but she's at a client's place, so she's listening, not speaking. We've got Sandra Bacon, who is here, but Sandra we haven't heard from you, don't see you. So, and then we've got Cheryl, who is driving. So I think that in terms of who we are going to be able to hear from, you guys are it. Cheryl, Lenica, and Joel. And hang on, there's somebody messaging me here. Yeah, okay. So what else can I give you guys? Cheryl, Lenica, Joel? I'm here.
What should I, oh, sorry, someone else go ahead.
Cheryl? You good?
I'm good so far.
Okay, Lenica, you good?
I have a question about the whole best vehicle thing.
Okay.
So very similar to Joel, when I did the reaching out, the two that I said that I wanted to explore deeper were Wise Counsel and Extraordinary Trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it came to the question about what's the best vehicle, how would you suggest, is it just maybe like a trial and error thing that I keep going through, like through my business, others, like coaching, what any suggestions as to how I would figure out like the best vehicle for using those gifts?
Okay, so it's not the best vehicle, it's the right vehicle for you, right?
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you're referring to the Feel on Purpose formula, which is knowing what your gifts are, using your gifts in a way that is meaningful to you and of benefit to others, and then having the right vehicle to do that through. Okay, that's what you're referring to?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, it might be trial and error. I mean, for me, it was when I left nursing. I didn't understand this, and I had been a full-time employee since I was about 13 years old. Well, part-time when I was 13. I got my first job working in the kitchen at a senior's home, and then I got a job when I was in high school working in a kitchen at a hospital, and I only ever knew employment, and I loved it. Show up, go to work, get paid. So the right vehicle for me was having a salaried job. And then when I walked away from nursing, when I made that, I didn't make the decision. When the decision was made for me and I was obedient to leave nursing, there was no other option for me to build sacred gifts other than to become self-employed. So the vehicle became self-employment, right? And then that developed into, okay, having a business, and that became the vehicle. And then over time, because remember, this formula came in piece by piece. It was over time that I recognized that I was using my gifts in a way that was totally meaningful for me. People were benefiting from it and asking me for it, and yet I did not feel on purpose. And that's when I realized it was because the whole self-employment thing, like I am a team person. I am a team person. As a nurse, I loved being part of a team. I loved, sometimes I'd be acting head nurse. I loved running a team. I loved everything about team. And then I became self-employed all by myself, right? It was just like a nightmare. So, and now actually recently I got back in network marketing just for something fun to do because I love building team. Like I really love team. So for me, it wasn't so much experimenting. I was just thrown into being self-employed. And then after years of struggling with it, and it took years before I realized that this was absolutely not the right vehicle for me. And then finding somebody who wanted to take over all the strategic planning, the marketing, all of it for Sacred Gifts from me and take that off my hands so that I could go back to using my gifts in a way that was meaningful to me and of benefit to others. And the right vehicle for me is in like joint ventures, or contracts are actually ideal for me, for people to contract me to, have a contract to go do something. And that was the right way to do it for me. I am still self-employed, and Sacred Gifts is still a business. However, it is not me running the business is not the right vehicle at all. And I have said, I have seriously considered this, absolutely considered selling Sacred Gifts to somebody who wants to take it and grow it, and that they would employ me within it. Oh my God, I'd be so happy. I'd be so happy. I mean, if Colin heard me say that, oh my God, I can't even imagine what he would think. But really, for me, if somebody took this thing, bought it, ran it, did, and followed the vision I have, and they employed me to work within it, oh my God, it'd be amazing. Okay, so I'd be back to being employed and being paid to do what I do. I would just set my prices a lot higher than I did when I was a nurse, right? So, yeah, so I guess really experimenting would be, I don't know how else you can do it other than, experimenting, but noticing how you feel is the biggest thing. If you're self-employed and you are running a business and it is sucking life out of you versus giving you life, that is a clue. It doesn't mean you're not using your gifts in a way that's meaningful to you and benefit to others. It just means that you've got to notice how it makes you feel.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's the feeling part of it that can often give you the most information. And remember, I was telling you guys in Toronto, not everybody is looking to feel on purpose. And many people, I would say most people, what they understand is to be successful. That's what most people, they get involved in doing something and they want to be successful. And you can be successful at something and not feel on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, so
True.
It's a
been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a distinction that we make, and it's a decision that we make, whether we want to focus on being successful and we don't care if we feel on purpose or not. Or
Okay.
you want to be successful and feel on purpose. So if you want to be successful and feel on purpose, that's where you look at the feel on purpose formula. You only need to look at the feel on purpose formula when you don't feel on purpose. That's the only time you guys need to look at it. If you're feeling on purpose doing what you're doing, don't even look at it.
Okay.
So let me ask you this, Lenica. What is it around the vehicle that is working or not working for you?
I don't know, only because I never identified those as gifts. Well, I've identified wise counsel, and I think when you talk about feeling successful but not on purpose, I've used that gift when I was in corporate a lot, and I just wasn't happy. So here I'm using it and I'm feeling a lot better. So I do feel a little bit more jazzed and enthused now that I am on my own. Extraordinary Trust, like I said, was one of the other ones, according to your sheet, of which I would like to go deeper. So that one, I think I was pertaining to, like, how would I know that? So that's I guess a new one for me. So learning, I think it's just, like you said, just focusing on how I feel when I have to just kind of have those leaps of faith and stuff, depending on what vehicle I can use that. So I think that's the key, is just feeling, paying attention to how I feel, not how I seem or appear.
Yes. And remember, I gave you guys, well, I say remember, I said these things to you in Toronto, and then I don't know if you guys heard half of what I said in Toronto because I, didn't have a voice. But the Feel on Purpose formula for me applies to many different things in many different ways in my life. So there isn't any one thing that I do anymore. Okay, when I was a nurse, even when I was a nurse, I still had a network marketing business that I did at night. There's never really been, I did trade shows on weekends. Like, I've never really only ever done this thing. And now my life is such that if I'm on stage and I'm teaching and it's a contract with Make Your Mark, the vehicle is a contract. That's the vehicle, and being on stage. But if I am volunteering at the thrift store on Thursdays, there's no contract involved. The vehicle is volunteering. And I'm not getting paid. I'm doing it because I love doing it, because it's the one place I can go and be in my gift of service and just work. I just work, and I can be a benefit to others. And it's just labor intensive stuff. And I enjoy doing that. There's some people who come to the thrift store and they don't have a gift of service. They've got a different gift and they're doing something else at the thrift store that they love doing. But I like going and doing the labor, like the actual work that needs to get done. And when I'm doing coaching and I'm on phone calls with people, different gifts are involved. It's not a teaching gift, right? When I'm working with clients and I'm on the phone, it's primarily my gift of challenge, encouragement, and wise counsel. Those are the three. I'm not doing any teaching. And, when I'm doing that, the vehicle for doing that is part of being self-employed. Like, that is part of my business, what I do. So there's different things that I do in my life on different days that the formula is utilizing different gifts. It's certain gifts that are being utilized in a way, but what never changes for me is always that what I'm doing is meaningful for me and a benefit to others. Those two pieces never change. Whatever I'm doing is meaningful to me and of benefit to others. But it might be a gift of service if I'm volunteering. If I'm on stage, it might be a gift of teaching and challenge. If I'm on coaching calls, it might be encouragement, wise counsel. So it changes. But what is always at the core of it for me is, do I feel on purpose doing it? And is it meaningful to me, and is it a benefit to others? I don't really care which one of my gifts are being utilized. If the end result is that I feel on purpose, and if it's something I'm doing that I'm doing to generate income and it's generating income, then it's great. But when I no longer feel on purpose, you guys, it could be absolutely related to sacred gifts. It could be related to anything. If I no longer feel on purpose doing it, I will stop. Do you hear me? I will stop. And I will reassess. And I will go back to the formula and I'll look at it and say, okay, what is going on? Why do I not feel on purpose? What's happening for me? And for me, often it's that vehicle piece. How do I do this and make money? How do I figure out how to make money doing this? That's related to the vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's often where most people, especially business owners, solopreneurs, that's often where they get stuck and they get frustrated and they get annoyed. It's not because they aren't using their gifts in a way that's meaningful for them. They're pissed off because they're not making the money that they want to be making doing what it is.
Using the gifts.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask something?
Yes. Hi, Amanda.
So, yeah, sorry. I like when you talked about service, I just want to say that since that day, I've been on a whole different wavelength where I feel much more purposeful in what I do, and my coaching has been top notch, where I'm really pleased, where a lot of my gifts have shined through now that I understand them. But one thing I realized is I have the gift of service for sure, and encouragement and giving like that. I'm having trouble doing the opposite, which is receiving, where I kind of don't know how to do that. And I don't know if a bit about that, or if it's kind of off track, but I just want to know what your thoughts were in regards to receiving when you're such a giver.
Okay, being such a giver is not necessarily related to a sacred gift of service. Personality type 2 people Enneagram type 2s, if you look it up online, you will see those people are the givers. They're always, always putting other people first, always helping others, having a personality of being somebody who's always giving and not capable of receiving is not necessarily tied directly to a gift of service. Now, you, having worked with you, I understand you do have a gift of service. So don't look to the gift of service as a question to why you can't receive. You look to your personality. Okay, you look to your humanness. What is it about me that allows me to so readily give, and yet when it comes time to receiving, that is a challenge for me? And that is the work of, that's the personal development work. That's the stuff of, I mean, you know, that's the stuff I do with clients. That's the work of the, I got to tell you guys, it's really easy to help people identify their sacred gifts. That part is not the challenge. The challenge is all the other stuff, all the humanness stuff, the anxiety, the worry, the fretting, the inability to receive, the playing small, the, you know, not wanting to be seen, big ego, you know, it's all that other stuff that requires way more work, you guys, than your sacred gifts. Your sacred gifts are just there. They're just there wanting to do their thing, and then we just get in the way preventing them. So why is it harder to receive has nothing to do with a question of around sacred gifts. That's not a question that's tied to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And somebody can be a personality type 1 and have a gift of service and not be afraid of hard work, and somebody can be a type 8 and have a gift of service, and some can be a type 2 and have a gift of service, and what that looks like in your personality will be different in every single person.
If I could maybe add something to help you out, Amanda, would that be okay, Monique? If I
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Alana, who, as we know, she does feng shui. And I used to have the same kind of issue. People would give me a gift. I'd be like, oh, thanks. But I really deep down inside would feel maybe I don't deserve it. Or, why are people giving me all this kindness? And she really set me straight. She said, in feng shui, it is bad feng shui to not accept a gift. Whenever anybody gives you a gift, it's a flow of energy. And by not accepting the gift or not feeling worthy, you're actually blocking that energy that it has a reverberation. So by accepting the gift and just saying, the universe is giving me the gift, I obviously need and deserve the gift, it really gets rid of the anxiety around the acceptance factor, which obviously goes back to when you were younger, somewhere around there about gifts. And that, do I feel deserving? Am I worthy of getting this? Oh, geez, someone says thank you. And I think, Monique, during the Own Your Greatness, you touched on that about, people complimenting and then just not complimenting back. I think that was a very powerful exercise. And we deserve it. If you got it, it's meant for you. You have to just look at it that way. It's just whether you feel you deserve it or not, you deserve it. And you must accept the fact that when someone opens them up to give you a gift, they're opening up with their heart. And if you're saying, even feeling it, the energy of blocking that, you're kind of blocking that and sending a negative energy back to that person. You need to let it flow, because people don't give gifts just to give
Lightly.
gifts because it makes them feel better. And it's in a way you're doing them a favor by accepting the gift. So
And then,
I agree with that.
Thank you for that, Joel. And then there are personality type 3s who give a lot of compliments. And the shadow side of a type 3 is they're looking and fishing for a compliment. And so when somebody compliments me, for example, I don't give it, I don't anymore. I don't really give it any, I thank them, whether they're doing it because they're looking for a compliment, whether they're doing it because that's their way to ingratiate themselves to me, whether they're doing it because they really do like my blingy blue shirt here. I don't really, I guess I allow it to flow. I don't really have any attachment to it, I guess is what I would say. The other thing is the love languages play into this a lot. So out of the 5 love languages, receiving gifts for me is right at the very bottom. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate when people give me gifts. It's not my love language. My love language is quality time and acts of service. Nothing makes me happier than what I posted on Facebook last night, which was Fraser building me an office space in this new place, right? I could just, it just makes me so happy. And I must have told him 10 times today. I just love that he built me this office space. It's convenient. Fraser's love language is words of affirmation. So, you know, me telling him, oh my God, you're so brilliant that you were able to figure out how to build this thing without a pattern. I don't have a gift of craftsmanship. I have no idea how that happens. So, Amanda, for you in terms of receiving, your inability to receive, is it gifts or is it help from people?
But all this is help from people, but all this is very solidifying from what we did for the couple of activities back at Own Your Greatness. And it's definitely something that I want to work on for sure, because I think that's blocking a lot of the stuff that could, you know, have that flow that I'm looking for. So everything that you just talked about is just like re-hitting me, and that's what I'm definitely going to pay attention to with how I feel as I do it and recognize that.
Yeah, and confidence is everything. I am so confident now. Like, I have people that will say to me, you know, often after workshops, people will say to me, the thing that they appreciate about me the most is my conviction on what I say. It's unwavering. I am unwavering. I'm unwavering now. I was not like this 5 years ago, and I wasn't like this 10 years ago. This confidence that I have that is unwavering. Do you hear me, you guys? It is unwavering. It doesn't matter to me what any of you say to me. It doesn't matter to me what any of you think of me. It doesn't matter, not because you don't matter. It's because the confidence I have in myself is unwavering, because I am clear on my connection to source, to universe, that I'm doing what I'm asked to do. It doesn't mean that I'm confident in everything I do. It's that I'm confident that I am doing the best I can. I'm really confident in that. But I wasn't like that 5 years ago, and I certainly wasn't like that 10 years ago, and 20 years ago. Nothing about me you would recognize. Nothing about me you would recognize. I should screen share and show you. I will send you guys a picture of what I looked like 20 years ago. You will not recognize me. You will not recognize me. But that's been years and years and years and years and years of working on myself, unrelenting in all kinds of ways. And I was blessed with a sister, with Fraser, with people around me, girlfriends who were doing the same thing on the same path, and saying to them, if you hear anything like that come out of my mouth, stop me and point it out to me. And then they would do it, and it would piss me off. It'd be like, oh, I would hate that when they pointed out to me, right? But I was asking for it. But I used the people around me who were closest to me to hold me accountable to what it was that I was wanting. So Amanda, it was a daily job for years and years and years and years to become the person today that I was not 20 years ago. But it's been a very long, slow process. But it's confidence and conviction. Once you become solid in who you are, none of the other stuff matters. It just doesn't. I could stand there. I mean, look at those activities I put you guys through. And, you know, that one woman, who is it? Yes.
With the gifts?
Yeah. Inside of me, every cell in my being smiles when that happens. It just does, because it's like I want to throw up my arms up in the air and go, yes, you know, because I know that kind of stuff is what changes people. I know that kind of work changes people. That's why I'm so passionate about doing it. And I am so clear when I'm on stage. I am so aware that what I am doing is transformative. It is not me that is transforming you. It's the work that is
the work, yeah.
Because you guys show up and you do it. There could have been double the amount of people in that room that were Own Your Greatness as part of their Sherpa program. They didn't show up. They couldn't have handled it. There's a lot of people who could not handle that, right? You guys could handle it. So it's finding something else. Find something else. Go on YouTube. Find another mentor. Find another, you know, another program, another course, listen to somebody that, you know, is powerful in that way and helping in that ongoing personal development. Oh, yeah, kitty cat.
Oh.
And her name's Kitty.
Oh.
Say hi.
All right. Well, listen, we're getting close to an hour here, but I just want to check in again. So Cheryl, is there anything unfinished for you?
I don't know if it's unfinished, but I just want to thank you for all the descriptions on your MP3s and in the book on the various gifts, because I think it helped clarify for me what the definition was and have a better understanding. And through the exercise, even though I may not have had a gift of, let's say, assistant, I'll just pick that one out. It made me realize when I read through and listened to the MP3, I thought, that's someone that I could really value as a person on my team, because that's not a gift, but it's valuable. And I thought maybe that's the kind of person I need to look for to see if they have that gift to, support one another, So it just opened up the gates a little bit and widened the vision. And it just made me feel okay that the gifts that I have are okay. It's okay that I don't have the other ones. I'm okay with the ones that I have, and I'm okay.
Oh, I was so blessed. Like I felt just so blessed when you, came to me and offered to do some work on me, and you could tell, right? Like I'm just open to that. I have no resistance to that at all. Like I just love that. Yeah, love it.
So thankful. I'm so thankful.
Lenica, how about you? Anything you want to close off with, or that you can?
No, I think, like I said, I just feel like the doors opened a bit wider, the lights on, feel a bit clearer to even Cheryl's point. It's okay to not have everything, and it's kind of identified. It's even helped me identify gifts in my family members, and so I understand them a little bit better, but they don't know that I know their gifts just by looking at them. And it's making me understand why they react to me in certain ways, based on their gifts. And so I, in turn, react to them. And that whole thing about saying thank you without necessarily having to respond in kind, I've done that a few times. And the word that comes to mind is liberating, if that makes sense. Because I don't feel like I have to. And I'm okay if they feel like I had to. Because then I'm like, well, you know what I mean? So it's been an interesting trial to do, just to say thank you. And I always feel the need to compliment back. But I only do it now if I really am like approaching them to compliment and not because they did it to me. So it was very interesting to cut my tongue, so to speak, when people did that. So.
Well, like Joel said, when Joel talked about becoming the observer, it's like being up on the bridge. We're used to being in the water all the time. We're always in the water. And, when you start to get up on the bridge and you can observe what's going on down there in the water without having the need to jump in and be all mixed up in it, it's very powerful. And I would say that's probably, the biggest change that's happened to me over the years is I have become the observer. I still react and I still have my stuff and all of that, but I am very good at observing, of being able to get out of it, get up on the bridge and observe it, rather than being, when you're in the water and you're drowning, it's very challenging to be the observer, because you're sucked, you're getting pulled under, you get pulled under over and over and over again. But when you can get out and you can be up on the bridge and you can observe it, it's where often the shift that happens for a lot of people, and I'll hear it described this way a lot, is when people hit the point where they say, I don't want any drama in my life anymore.
Yeah.
I'm
For
done.
me, it's protecting my peace.
Yeah. There you go. Now. That's right. So when you become clear that drama is always going to happen, however, you don't want to be part of it, it's the difference between being in the river and being up on the bridge. The drama will still happen. You can observe the drama. You can bless it. You can walk away onto the other side of the bridge if you want, but there's no need to have to jump in it. There's no need to fix it. There's no need to save it. There's no need to rescue it. There's no need to be a part of it. You just can observe it and you can bless it and you can move on. There will always be people who are involved in drama, need drama, have drama, but when you can remove yourself from it, that's when you notice being an observer.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, you start to observe it, and that there's nothing wrong with it. it's okay for people to be dramatic and for people to have drama and to create drama and all of that. It's okay, because wherever people are at is where they're at. People are at where they're at. We're all doing the best we can.
Yeah.
But
I've made that statement to family before. I'm like, at this point, I'm protecting my peace, and I don't mind if you guys are calling me like the bad daughter, the bad sister. I know I'm not, so you could say what you want, but I'm doing this to protect my peace. I've had those conversations in the past few months, so it's been actually pretty liberating to say it. I still fall in the water every now and again, but I feel like now that I understand the difference, I know when I'm in the water versus when I'm kind of climbing up to be the observer, kind of, to use your analogy.
Wonderful. And Joel, what would you like to say in wrapping up?
I want to continue doing this. I have found that I'm speaking to people more differently, you know, especially in business. I'm not putting up with crap from my clients anymore. I actually fired 2 clients last week. Got into very heated arguments with them. They were, the one guy said to me, "Well, what, you don't need my money?" I said, I said, "I do need money, but I don't want yours." And I used Colin's term. I said, "I invite you to be successful with one of my competitors." And that just sent him off the deep end. Then he started getting angry and belligerent. And at that point, just like when you were up on stage getting crap from Anne, I started smiling to myself and going, I really hit a vein with this guy. Thank goodness, because it would have been just a disaster. He had put his deposit down. It's a fairly large contract. It's like a $30,000 website. And I had to tell him, sorry, you can go work elsewhere. If you'd like, I can recommend you someone. He just gave me the finger and walked out of the office. And I thought, okay, good for you. And went online and put a bad review about him. So, you know, deservingly so. And the other client, it's so strange because, you know, instead of me continually trying to follow with him, I just dropped following up with him. And I just kind of put in my head, I just said, you know what, get him to call me. Just came into my head. Literally an hour later, I got a phone call from him. And we had a discussion and determined that, you know, our match is not made in heaven. So, and then after, you know, I told Alana that, and she was like, oh my God, why did you give up so much business? I said, I just didn't feel right about it. But I feel actually liberated and a lot lighter, the fact that I'm not going to be taking on these clients. So we'll just push our vacation back a little bit. So that's all right, because I know that the space is going to be filled by better clients that are coming on board, more coaching clients. My coaching business has gone through the roof. It's just, I haven't been able to keep up with the amount of leads that I'm getting and referrals that I'm getting. You know, there's one person, I've even done business with him. He's referred me 4 people already. He's just like, you know what, Joel, I just love your energy. So I trust you, and away you go. And it's funny because, you know, one of the gifts people come to you and say, I can't believe I told you this. I got that all the time, which is, I always feel blessed, or I feel grateful that someone can actually come up to me and say something so personal to me, because I'm not the type to go along and blab it to somebody else. I really hold that close to my heart. It's a great feeling when someone comes up to you and confides in you, and I hold that with the highest of degree. So it's allowed me to connect with my clients better. I turned around a client that was very unhappy for reasons that had nothing to do with my company, but yet she was still taking out on me. And I was just, by sitting and listening and talking, I was just blown away by her response. Now she wants to do everything. She wants this, she wants that, referring to clients. So I've noticed a shift in how people are around me, which is obvious, meaning that I've shifted. So I really want to thank you for that, Monique. You know, I know you don't take responsibility for it, but you facilitate it. And without a good facilitator, nobody would be able to get to the degree or get the shift, you know, that we've been getting. So, you know, accept that gift that, you know, maybe it's just part of what that you need to do, but you do it very well. And you do it with a lot of heart and a lot of caring. And I think without that, you wouldn't be impacting people the way you are. You wouldn't have the facilitators with you. You wouldn't have 7 of us on the call tonight. You know, my wife wouldn't be disappointed that you weren't able to, that she wasn't able to make it tonight, because even in your voice, in your program, you just can sense that really, really sincerity that you don't get very often. So I really want to impress upon you that you're doing the right thing. And, you know, from a business perspective, it really doesn't matter. The fact is that you're able to do that. You do have a gift. You have a gift of opening up people's gifts. And I would say that everybody on this call will probably agree with me 1,000 times, regardless of what you think. Because we have a different perception, a different perspective of you. We see you on the outside. You know, we all got these things going on in our head on the inside, and we're generally pretty wrong about what other people think of us. However, with you, I think we all agree that you really are the right person to do this. I fully believe that in the deepness of my heart. And I just wanted to say that, and I'm blessed that I was able to spend those 3 days with you. And of course, I love everyone at Make Your Mark. It was just like being back to a family. So adding all that and being around people that I trust and that I care about, I would say that was probably, out of all the Sherpa courses, the most
best
for me, the deepest for me, the most connected for me. And when you said I'd like to get someone else to grab my business and just me work for them, of course, the entrepreneurial things start going off in my head. How can that happen? Let's make that work. I'd love to do that. But, you know, taking on another business, I think I'll just go batty. I've already got 4. So maybe I'll clear all that stuff out and we'll have another conversation down the road because you've got such an amazing, unique platform, and just the way you teach is hilarious. When Ann was up there giving you crap and you were just standing there smiling, I smiled. And I was like, good for her. Now that is a strong woman that is planted and understands where she needs to be. And I just smiled the whole time. I was just thinking, wow, kudos to you. So, namaste, definitely.
Monique, I think this is a course that's needed for everyone. It doesn't matter if they're business owners. So I actually was wondering, like, if you travel like within Toronto, because I can think of 10 people minimum that I could say, hey, you need to take this.
Yeah, that's a great, you have to remember that Own Your Greatness is Colin's program, right?
Yeah,
So,
but what about the other part? That's the Sacred Gifts part.
Yeah, well, the Sacred Gifts part I do. I just got back from Calgary. I was brought out to Calgary and did the Sacred Gifts event. What I'm clear on now, and thank you for everything you said, Joel. What I'm clear on now is that I have a couple of will not do's anymore. I will not show up and speak based on my sales. That would be ridiculous. In other words, I'm not going to go to a speaking gig where they tell me that I'm going on my own dime, but I will make the money off of my sales. That would be the most ridiculous thing ever that I would agree to, but I did it for many years. I won't do it anymore. The other thing is I'm no longer taking responsibility to fill a room. One of the blessings of working with Colin is Colin fills the room and I get to show up and teach. And I fought with God on this for so many years. And I would say, look, you've given me these gifts. I just want to show up and teach. And here I was putting on workshops here and then marketing and to fill the room. And by the time I'd get on stage, as soon as I'd be 5 minutes on stage, it would re-energize me. But literally walking up to the stage every single time, I think I'm never, ever, ever, ever doing this again because of that work of once you commit to a venue and you've got to fill the room and you've got to cover the cost of the venue and you've got to, all of that stuff used to just suck the life out of me. And that's why I didn't feel on purpose. And so now one of my non-negotiables is I will show up and teach Sacred Gifts. I won't fill the room. And so if people fill the room, I'll go to Toronto, I'll go wherever. I'm just not getting involved in that part of it anymore. So we just trialed it in Calgary and it worked out great. And that clarity has come from, I'm just not willing to do it. I have non-negotiables. I have some things I'm totally willing to negotiate on, and then there are non-negotiables. But the non-negotiables are based on the fact that it sucks the life out of me. And when it sucks the life out of me, it's like, it's hard to stay connected and be in spirit and be inspired and inspire others and to be fully there for others when I'm myself doing things that suck the life out of me. So for me to be fully present to anything I do for others, I've got to be in that space. And for me to be in that space, I have to feel on purpose. it's just not negotiable for me. It doesn't make sense. I don't know how to do it anymore. I don't know how to fake it. I don't know how to not do it. So I just am not willing to do it anymore. And that has taken some trust, and it has put me through some terrible financial years. I accrued so much debt building sacred gifts. It was ridiculous. Like, because I just didn't know how else to do it, and I just kept doing what I was doing. And now I just have some non-negotiables. So, but I'm a lot older than you, right? Like, Amanda, I'm 60, right? I'm 60 years old. Like, it's taken me a long time. It's taken me a long time. I always marvel at young people being in a course like Own Your Greatness. I think I was still drinking in bars, you know, when I was that age. Like, I wasn't going to courses like this. And, you know, with Anne, and like, oh my gosh, I was just so excited when she stood up, because what was I asking you guys to do? I wanted to hear how you felt. And she got up and she told me how she felt. And that was just such a beautiful thing. It was such a beautiful moment. And just total rawness, right? Like, I love that. Man, oh man, that is just so good, so good. Such a blessing. I am so grateful to her that she did that, because I tell you, that's what I wanted, and she delivered.
Yeah. And she delivered it in true Anne fashion, you know, Anne.
She totally did.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Amanda, how about you? What do you want to say before we close off here, or anything I can answer or help you with?
No, you gave me a lot of great things to look forward to. I know that everything's going to work out as it should. So thank you so much for such a fabulous event. Joel said it great. We're all so blessed. So thank you very much for sharing your gift with us. I'm very blessed.
You're welcome. All right, thanks, you guys. I have recorded this, so I will send it out to all of you, including the others. And those of you who are listening to the recording who are not on the call, a big kiss to all of you. And I sure hope our paths cross again. And I will be delivering Own Your Greatness again in Toronto. And I don't know, maybe Gabby will let some of you take it again if you want. I'll have a voice. It'll be exciting. It'll be a whole new experience for you.
For that reason alone, we should tell Colin she didn't have her voice, so we didn't get the full amount. We could get a retry.
Hey, you know what?
Here.
Yeah. I read the comment forms, and oh my God, not one person mentioned it. I almost feel bad giving him the comment. I'm going to be bringing him over to the office, and I thought, you know, he has no idea, and but you know what? And I mean, I probably should tell him, but what's interesting about it is ultimately it doesn't matter. That's how good the course is that because you guys carried it, right? I mean, I give you an activity and you guys then carry it. That's how good the course is. That's what to me is just so brilliant about it, that's how good the course is. Yeah. All right, you guys.
Wonderful.
Take care. Amanda, feel better soon.
Yes.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody. It's nice seeing everyone in one
Nice seeing you guys again.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Good.
Bye.
Thanks for being on. Bye-bye.